What you're about to hear will shake sports and celebrity culture to its core. Forget everything you thought you knew about Shannon Sharpe, about Shaquille O'Neal, about loyalty, respect, and brotherhood in the world of fame and money. Because tonight, the masks are off, the receipts are out, and the accusations are uglier than anything you've ever imagined. This isn't just about basketball. This isn't about rings, MVPs, or Hall of Fame speeches. This is about betrayal, backstabbing, and a setup so calculated, so sinister, that insiders are calling it the biggest sports scandal since OJ. Shannon Sharpe has gone nuclear, accusing Shaq of masterminding a multi-million-dollar setup, pulling strings behind the scenes, and even planting evidence that could destroy Shannon's career forever. And the craziest part, he says he has the receipts to prove it. We're talking leaked audio tapes where Shaq allegedly offers money. For dirt, we're talking text messages connecting Shaq to a woman now suing Shannon for $50 million. We're talking insider claims that Shaq was moving in silence, stacking files for years, waiting for the exact moment Shannon's career was peaking to bring him crashing down. But it doesn't end there. Social media has exploded. Fans are divided. Celebrities are choosing sides. And buried deep in the noise, there are whispers. Whispers that Shaq's alleged setup may not just be about Shannon Sharpe, but about covering up something even bigger. So buckle up. This isn't a story. This is a bomb. And it's ticking. The sports world thought they had seen it all. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared anyone for the bomb Shannon Sharpe just dropped. For years, Shannon and Shaquille O'Neal were supposed to represent the very definition of respect between legends. One was the larger-than-life dominant big man, the other, the iron-willed tight end turned cultural commentator. But now, that image is in ashes, because Shannon Sharpe has gone nuclear, putting Shaq on blast with claims that could shake the entire celebrity sports ecosystem to its core. He's not just hinting anymore. He's saying it outright. Shaq allegedly set him up, and he says he's got the receipts to prove it. It all started subtly, buried in years of passive-aggressive digs. Fans always noticed Shaq couldn't resist, reminding people about MVPs he thought he deserved, about his dominance that never got full credit. Every time someone else, Steve Nash, Nikola Jokic, won MVP, Shaq would be the first to hop online and hint he should have had it. And Shannon. He was always the straight shooter, willing to say what others whispered. He said Shaq was jealous. He said Shaq downplayed others' greatness. At the time, it felt like just sports banter. But insiders now say that was the spark. That was the moment Shaq circled Shannon's name and began playing the long game. Now, fast forward to today, Shannon was riding higher than ever. His Club Shay Shay interviews were dominating YouTube. His partnership with Skip Bayless ended, but it didn't slow him down, it freed him. ESPN was circling with a rumored $100 million deal. Networks were ready to lock him in as a permanent primetime voice. Shannon Sharpe was about to ascend into a league of his own. And that's exactly when the lawsuit hit. A woman named Gabriella Zika suddenly filed a shocking $50 million suit, accusing Shannon of misconduct so disturbing it threatened to destroy his career overnight. Fans gasped, media outlets swarmed, and just when it looked like Shannon's empire might crumble, whispers started to spread. Whispers that Shaquille O'Neal's fingerprints were all over this ambush. The whispers grew louder when a supposed leaked audio clip began circulating online. In it, a voice that fans swore sounded like Shaq could be heard negotiating, allegedly paying people for information. The line was chilling. "I'm paying top dollar for all that information. Love. You boy. Don't tell nobody." The tape was scratchy, muffled, but it was enough to ignite suspicion. What was Shaq buying? Who was selling? And why did it surface right as Shannon was closing in on his biggest payday? Then another domino fell. Matt Barnes' name suddenly got dragged into the chaos. A mysterious clip hit the internet allegedly featuring Barnes talking about how Shaq was ready to spend heavy stacks just to dig up dirt on Shannon. We're not talking a few thousand. We're talking big off-the-books money. The kind of cash that makes people talk in whispers. If true, this wasn't beef anymore. This was war. Let's pause here, because the timeline is too suspicious to ignore. First, Shaq and Shannon get testy over MVP comments. Shannon calls Shaq out for jealousy. Then, things go quiet. No more jabs. No more tension in public. Fans assumed they had buried the hatchet. But behind closed doors, according to insiders, Shaq was moving in silence, collecting files, waiting for his chance. Then Shannon skyrockets with new deals and new platforms. Suddenly, a lawsuit appears, tied to a woman who just so happens to be linked to TMZ footage of Shannon looking a little too cozy at a fan event. And the whispers? They claim TMZ didn't stumble on that moment by accident. Someone made the call. Someone staged the shot. You see where this is going? And if you think that's all coincidence, let's dig deeper. Who represents Gabriella Zika? None other than Tony Busby, the infamous lawyer who built his reputation crushing men in powerful positions. He went after Deshaun Watson, key tangled with Jay-Z. He doesn't take cases unless he knows he's swinging with live ammo. And now he's the one leading the $50 million case against Shannon Sharpe. That doesn't just scream strategy. That screams a hit job. And here's where Shannon's receipts come into play. According to his camp, he's seen messages damning. One's connecting Gabriella to circles that intersect directly with Shaq's business ventures. Restaurant appearances, event sponsorships, even private parties where the same faces keep showing up. It's starting to look less like Gabriella randomly crossed paths with Shannon and more like someone put her in his orbit. Someone who had the resources to make it happen. That's why Shannon Sharpe finally broke his silence. He went live and said flat out, "I'm not just fighting Gabriella, I'm fighting giants in the shadows. And I know who they are." Fans knew instantly who he was talking about. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #ShaqSetup and #ShannonReceipts trended worldwide. Fans split down the middle. Some said Shannon was finally exposing a side of Shaq nobody dared talk about. Others accused Shannon of deflection, of creating a conspiracy to save his career. But the real gasoline hit the fire when insiders started leaking alleged screenshots showing Shaq's team in private group chats, talking about timing things right and making sure ESPN doesn't lock him down. If those screenshots are real, and so far nobody has disproved them, then this isn't speculation anymore. This is an alleged billion-dollar chess move. And remember, Shaq isn't just a former player. He's a mogul. He owns stakes in countless businesses. He has influence in media, sports, and beyond. If he wanted to slow down Shannon Sharpe, he has the connections, the reach, and the money to make it happen. That's what makes this accusation so explosive. It's not just Shannon versus Shaq. It's David versus Goliath, in real time, with reputations, fortunes, and legacies on the line. But here's the kicker. It doesn't stop at Gabriella. Because whispers say this isn't the first time Shaq allegedly tried to maneuver someone out of the spotlight. And Shannon, he's promising that in the days ahead, he'll release the full receipts. Texts, emails, and maybe even the full version of that leaked audio. If that happens, we're looking at one of the biggest scandals in sports history. But for now, all we know is this. Shannon Sharpe says he was set up. Shaq says nothing. And the internet is left wondering, is this the beginning of Shaq's empire cracking wide open? Or is Shannon about to bury himself even deeper? And just when you think it can't get any crazier, the story takes an even darker turn in part 2. Because suddenly, another name resurfaces: Michelle Evans, a woman who came forward years ago, with allegations against Shannon that got buried and forgotten. But now, they're back, and the parallels to Gabriella's case are terrifying. And if Shaq's fingerprints are on both, then this setup may have been years in the making. Stay locked, because part 2 will blow this story. According to court documents, Michelle claimed she was in a relationship with Shannon for nearly 10 years, ending in 2010 after she discovered he cheated. But her allegations didn't stop at heartbreak. She said Shannon had allegedly forced himself on her after fights, threatened to ruin her reputation, and even told her, "I'm going to make it so no other man will want you." The words were so dark, so brutal, that even reading them years later sends chills down the spine. And here's the thing: why didn't this story ever blow up? Why didn't the sports world cover it back then? Insiders now whisper it's because somebody with power wanted it buried. Somebody with connections, influence, and money. And now, with Shannon's name back in the mud, people are starting to wonder, was Shaq involved back then too? Did he already know Michelle's story and tuck it away until the time was right? Think about it. If the Gabriella setup was real, if TMZ cameras were tipped off to catch Shannon cozying up to her, if lawyers were already being lined up, then what's stopping someone from stacking older stories to create a pattern? All you'd need is to resurface Michelle Evans' accusations, tie them to Gabriella, and suddenly Shannon looks like a repeat offender instead of a victim of bad timing. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. And then came the next bombshell. A mysterious clip began circulating on underground forums and Twitter Spaces. In it, a voice allegedly Shaq's could be heard asking someone about old files and cases that never made the light of day. The audio was scratchy, but one line cut clear through the noise. "Dig it up. I'll pay for it. Don't. Let it stay buried." Fans instantly connected that line to Michelle Evans' case. Was Shaq actively hunting down her old allegations to weaponize them now? At the same time, another layer of scandal erupted when supposed leaked text messages between Shannon and Gabriella surfaced. Screenshots appeared online showing role-play conversations that were wild, explicit, and controversial. Some even hinted at what people online called race play, a disturbing fantasy Shannon allegedly engaged in. The screenshots lit the internet on fire. But Shannon clapped back instantly, demanding the full context. He said those texts were clipped, cropped, and stripped of what really happened. He claimed Gabriella was a willing participant and that the texts were part of mutual role-play, not coercion. But here's the twist: why did those texts leak at the exact same time that Shaq was being accused of orchestrating a setup? Fans couldn't help but ask, who's leaking these receipts? Gabriella? Or somebody feeding them to her? Somebody with the resources to make sure the leaks dropped right when Shannon's reputation was at its most fragile. And then came the craziest moment yet. A TMZ clip suddenly went viral, showing Shannon at an event leaning close to Gabriella, smiling, chatting, looking relaxed. On the surface, it looked innocent. Shannon is always friendly with fans, but the timing was too perfect. Why was a TMZ camera conveniently stationed right there, right then? Who tipped them off? TMZ doesn't just show up at random small events with perfect camera angles. Somebody called them. Somebody staged it. And if Gabriella was bait, Shannon walked right into the trap hand. The footage became Exhibit A in the court of public opinion. Now, here's where the receipts got even messier. Alleged group chat screenshots appeared online, supposedly from Shaq's camp, with lines like, "We got what we need. He won't touch that ESPN bag now, and make sure it drops before the signing." These weren't verified, but they spread like wildfire. And the fans went crazy. Hashtag Shaq setup trended again. Twitter exploded with fans, accusing Shaq of being the puppet master pulling strings in the shadows. Some posted side-by-side timelines, showing how every time Shannon was about to level up new show, new deal, new sponsor, new scandal just so happened to erupt. Others defended Shaq, calling it all conspiracy nonsense. But then another twist hit the timeline. NBA insiders started whispering about revenge. Apparently, Shaq had never forgiven Shannon for mocking his obsession with MVPs and minimizing other players' greatness. One source told a podcast, "Shaq doesn't play the long game on the court, but off the court, he can be cold. He doesn't forget, and he doesn't forgive." Meanwhile, Shannon went live again, fiery, unfiltered, and explosive. He said flat out, "I see what's happening. Y'all think this is about Gabriella? Y'all think this is about Michelle? No. This is about somebody scared I'm becoming bigger than them. Somebody scared my voice is about to be louder than theirs." He didn't name names, but everyone watching knew exactly who he meant. And just when people thought it couldn't get worse, an insider leak claimed Tony Busby, Gabriella's lawyer, might have received funding from a mysterious outside source to pursue the case. So aggressively, no one named Shaq directly. But the implication was clear. Then, out of nowhere, another clip hit Twitter hot mic moment from Matt Barnes, allegedly saying, "Man, Shaq was willing to pay for dirt on Shannon. Serious stacks. Not play money." The clip was fuzzy, but it spread like wildfire. And the internet lost its mind. Fans now demanded answers. Was Shaq funding lawsuits? Was he digging up old skeletons? Was this really a setup designed to crush Shannon Sharpe at the exact moment he was leveling up? But then came the cliffhanger moment that changed everything. Because suddenly, reports surfaced that yet another woman identified so far it was preparing to come forward. And whispers said her story didn't just resemble Gabriella's or Michelle's. It went even darker, even deeper. And if Shaq's name showed up in connection with her too, then this wouldn't just be a scandal. It would be a full-blown takedown operation, years in the making. And that's where we're left for now. Shannon Sharpe swears he has the receipts. Shaq stays silent, unbothered, posting memes, laughing online like nothing touches him. But fans can't shake the feeling this is only the beginning. Because if a third woman comes forward, and if more receipts leak tying Shaq to the shadows, then the biggest scandal in sports history won't just explode a takedown reputations, careers, and maybe even dynasties. And trust me, what happens in part 3 will leave your jaw on the floor. Because that's when the alleged final bombshell comes out in an insider recording that could expose who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes. By the time Gabriela's lawsuit and Michelle Evans' buried case were back in circulation, Shannon Sharpe's entire world was shaking. His ESPN deal hung in limbo, sponsors went silent, and even his podcast started to lose steam. But just when fans thought it couldn't get any wilder, a new leak ripped the internet open like a lightning bolt. The leak came from a private WhatsApp group, allegedly tied to someone in Shaq's orbit. The screenshots looked messy, names blurred. But one line stood out in bold text. "He's not making ESPN money if I can help it. We'll see who's really the king." Instantly, fans connected the dots. King was the same word Shaq often used to describe himself when talking about dominance. Coincidence? Doubtful. Twitter exploded with speculation. Was Shaq admitting to setting Shannon up to sabotage his next big payday? But then came the nuclear moment. A 10-minute leaked audio recording surfaced, allegedly capturing a call between two unnamed insiders. The voice on one end was deep, unmistakable, and fans swore it belonged to Shaquille O'Neal. The other voice, never identified, sounded like a fixer or middleman. And what the deep voice said. It was damning. The clip began with laughter. Then, a pause. "He thinks he's bigger than the game now," the voice said. "Bigger than me. That's a problem." Then it cut sharper. "Get me everything. Old cases, new dirt, I don't care. TMZ, lawyers, whoever. Make sure when the deal drops, he don't sign nothing. I'm paying whatever it takes." The internet melted down. Hashtags like hashtag Shaq receipts and hashtag Free Shannon trended worldwide. Clips were played on sports shows, gossip podcasts, and even late night TV. Everyone wanted to know, was that Shaq's voice? Shaq stayed quiet. No denial, no acknowledgement, just a stream of Instagram posts with cryptic captions like "Legends don't explain themselves" and "Stay tuned. Big things coming." Fans were split. Some said silence meant guilt. Others said Shaq was playing it smart, letting Shannon bury himself. Meanwhile, Shannon didn't hold back. On a fiery live stream, he shouted into the camera, "You hear that voice? You tell me who else sounds like that. You think I'm crazy? You think I made this up? No. Somebody been trying to ruin me for years." And now the mask's slipping. His face was red with anger. His voice cracked like a man at his breaking point. But what came next pushed everything over the edge. An anonymous source dropped another bombshell. Gabriella wasn't just suing for $50 million. Allegedly, her lawsuit included hidden financial backing from a retired NBA legend who wasn't named in the papers. The moment that rumor hit, fans went berserk. Who else but Shaq could have that kind of cash, motive, and history with Shannon? The meltdown spread fast. NBA players chimed in. Matt Barnes tweeted, "Too much smoke for there not to be a fire." Gilbert Arenas went live saying, "I've been around long enough to know how certain guys move. Y'all ain't ready for the truth." Even LeBron James liked a shady tweet that read, "Enemies ain't always strangers." That like alone sent shockwaves across the sports world, and then came the most surreal twist of all. A mysterious third woman surfaced. No name given, no face revealed. Just a lawyer's statement saying she would soon come forward with her own accusations against Shannon. But here's where it got even darker. Her lawyer hinted that this woman had direct communication records with someone tied to Shaq's management team. If true, that meant the setup wasn't just speculation anymore, it was a full-blown operation. Fans demanded answers. Was Shaq really orchestrating this takedown? Was Shannon telling the truth that he was being targeted at the exact moment his career was peaking? Or was this just a convenient excuse to distract from serious allegations? The pressure cooker finally exploded when another video leak landed on YouTube. This one showed Shannon at a party years ago, surrounded by women, laughing, sipping from a glass clearly relaxed, but in the background, just out of focus, a tall, massive figure loomed, one that fans instantly swore looked like Shaq. Nobody could prove it. But the caption slapped under the video said it all, the night it started. By now, fans were spiraling into full conspiracy theory mode. Twitter threads broke down timelines, connecting every lawsuit, every TMZ clip, every cryptic Shaq post. YouTube commentators were dropping hour-long exposes, titled things like Shaq versus Shannon, The Silent War, and How Shaq Set the Trap. But through all the chaos, Shannon dropped the hammer. On his latest podcast episode, he leaned into the mic and said, "I got more receipts, more than what you heard. More than what they leaked. And when I drop them, the whole world gonna know." Who been pulling strings? Y'all think I'm scared? I'm not. I'm ready. His co-host sat silent, visibly tense, as Shannon's words hung in the air. And just when you thought the curtain was about to close, another cliffhanger rattled the whole saga. A mysterious email leaked to sports blogs. It appeared to show correspondence between a private investigator and a man with the initials SO, the subject line. Target, Sharpe, the body of the email. Everything is in place. The woman will speak. The cameras will roll. By Sunday, he won't have a deal. The initials, the timing, the tone, it all pointed one way. But here's the kicker. Shannon claims he knows who leaked that email. And he promised, on live camera, that the truth will come out in his next big move. I told y'all they can't break me, he said, staring straight into the lens. But when I drop what I got, it's not just gonna end there. Planet's gonna end their reputation forever. And that's where the story leaves us. Shannon with alleged final receipts. Shaq playing silent, cool, and untouchable. Gabriella's lawsuit boiling in the courts. Michelle Evans' case suddenly back in the headlines. A third woman waiting in the shadows. And the sports world stuck in the middle of one of the biggest scandals in history. Will Shannon actually expose Shaq with hard proof? Or will Shaq's silence keep him safe, untouchable, while Shannon's reputation crumbles under the weight of lawsuit after lawsuit? And the scariest question of all, if these setups are real, how many more are waiting to surface? One thing is certain, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. The game has moved off the court and into the shadows. And in those shadows, reputations are destroyed, careers are ended. And legends are either made or unmade. And now the biggest question in the entire sports world is hanging in the balance. Is Shannon Sharpe about to end Shaquille O'Neal's entire legacy with the final receipts he claims to hold? Or will Shaq's silence, power, and billion-dollar influence be enough to bury this entire scandal before the truth ever sees the light of day? This isn't just basketball beef anymore. This is reputation warfare. This is legacy destruction. And this is history in the making. But here's the thing. If you don't lock in with us right now, you're going to miss the very next bombshell. These leaks aren't slowing down. The lawsuits aren't cooling off. And every day, new voices, new insiders, and new scandals are crawling out of the shadows. By tomorrow, there could be another woman, another recording, another email that shifts the entire story upside down. And if you're not subscribed, you'll be late to the chaos. So stop scrolling and do it right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment below telling me who you believe, Team Shaq or Team Shannon. Because when the next piece of evidence explodes online, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last. This story is moving faster than anyone can track. And trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. The war between Shaq and Shannon is just getting started, and the next chapter could end a career forever.